Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Morning. Morning.
For those of you that are watching, this is the council meeting for the municipality of the County of Annapolis in our new council chambers. Current council chambers. Welcome to everybody. I hope everybody's having a good summer. We'll start with the roll call. District 1.
Bruce Pratt.
District 2.
Brian Fuzzy-Connell.
District 3 is myself, Alan Parrish. District 4.
Boy Berto.
District 5. Councillor Morrison has indicated that he couldn't make it today. He's in District 6. District 7.
Dave Hudson.
District 8.
Michael Gunn.
District 9.
Wendy Sheridan.
District 10.
Brad Weather.
And District 11.
Diana Black.
Great. Thank you very much. With respect to the agenda, are there any additions to the agenda, or can I call for approval? Seeing none,
I'll move that.
Councillor LeBlanc moves. Is there a seconder? Councillor Barteau seconds to approve the minutes as circulated. Further, any discussion?
You're on the agenda.
Yes, approving the agenda.
Yeah. Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion's carried. Now we have the minutes to approve. First, from the May 21st special meeting. They were circulated in your package. Would someone move the approval of the minutes?
So moved.
Moved by Councillor Hudson, I believe. Second, Councillor Sheridan. Any changes to the minutes as circulated? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion's carried. Next, the regular council meeting from July the 20th. The minutes have been circulated. Any additions or alterations to the minutes as circulated? Seeing none. Oh, I need a motion.
Move to approve.
Councillor LeBlanc moves. Is there a seconder? Councillor Longmire seconds. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion's carried. Councillor comments. District 1.
Thank you. Just a couple of things. Schools will be opening up in a couple of weeks, and we're hopeful that all students and staff will finally be able to have a full year of in-school instructions. Please be safe, follow all the rules, and maybe we can do that. Also, as fall approaches, I'd encourage everyone to visit all your local farmers markets, and to buy local. It'll make a big difference. And on a personal note, I'd like to just mention that my wife and I were able to take in the Acadian flag raising on Sunday at Fort Anne, and it was a wonderful day and a great ceremony. So, thank you.
Thank you. District 2?
It's been pretty quiet in District 2. I was over to Margaretville last week. They've got a nice boardwalk built. Hopefully we don't have any northeasters come in and destroy anything, but very nice walkway, barbecue areas. They put a set of binoculars there, high focus binoculars that you can see out to the Isle of Haute and out on the water and stuff. So it's they made the community very luscious, and people have been enjoying. They also they serve ice cream in the summertime, and that's open from 2 to 4 every Sunday and up to Labor Day weekend. So it's going to close soon, but they've been doing it for years, and they and my fellow councillor Prout gave me an article there on the, they've been well known for ice cream parlors from back in the 70s, so it's been good. It's been hot. The park in Fort George has been full every day with the humidity high, and maybe someday our county can put some walkways along there, boardwalk. So, thank you.
Thank you. District 3, I met with residents at Sand Lake to discuss some of their issues up in that little community there. And there's a group working to form another community liaison committee with the Arlington Heights C&D site. Other than that, things are going as one would hope in the summertime in District 3. District 4?
Morning. Various events have been taking place and continue for fundraising at community halls. Moshell Hall has been hosting takeouts, which have always been sold out on the ones they've had, which is great. So the support, local support, is really appreciated by those venues and the county. I have been doing some handouts of community county grant money, and all are very appreciative, as the organizations are very important services to the communities and require funding to continue their good work. I have attended various committee meetings, including the Economic Development Committee, HAC as well, where the work is going to be continuing. We've just got our toes wet on some of the issues. I was invited and attended the AGM for the Granville Ferry Community Hall and had some good conversations with constituents who were in attendance. I plan to attend some other of their weekly coffee gatherings, which is on Tuesday mornings. So I couldn't because I'm here today. When phase 5 of the lifting of COVID restrictions happen, I intend to get out to the community more for public gatherings, by supporting community halls. And it'd be a perfect place for a meet your councillor in District 4. I attended the first ever Acadian flag raising at Fort Anne grounds. It was great to be at this historic event. District 4 residents continue to get lots of use out of river access from the Causeway, Park, Hedge Landing, and Bridgetown locations. For river access, which is very important, every time I drive across the Causeway, it's always a lot of activity going on. So it's important facilities to maintain. I've been receiving calls and correspondence and have followed up on these with answers and a lot of positive results. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Longmire?
Thank you. Last evening, I had the opportunity to go down to the Habitation Hall and witness first of almost 2 years jam session. So it was exciting to be part of their smallish crowd. They're mindful of the gathering limitations, but it's exciting to see the halls starting to get busy with some of the activities that they're passionate about. At that time, I was able to meet Ron Hinshaw and hand out his support grant to him. So that was wonderful, and that he received it on behalf of the Habitation Youth and Rollins Club. I as well was able to hand deliver the grant as well to the Litchfield and Delap School Community Hall, Tamara, Longley, and Friends of the National School Society, and the Age Advantage Association, Heather LeBlanc, receiving that. I would just like to say, as school gets up and started, we look for safety for all, and certainly watch out for the buses. It's been exciting watching communities buzzing with lots of traffic, and so looking forward to fall.
Thank you. District 7?
Yes. I guess other than some telephone calls and emails regarding various topics, I think I've been fairly quiet in District 7 as well. Everyone seems to be enjoying the summer, and with the easing of the COVID protocols, people now seem to be are more free to travel and visit friends and families, go camping, take vacations, etc. So I think people are really enjoying the summer. Last Saturday was a bit of a heat wave. I don't know if everyone enjoyed that too much, but I always remind myself that in a few months the cold is going to be here. So I is the same as some of my other colleagues. I deliver the county checks to the grant recipients in District 7. They were all very appreciative of receiving the funds, for the various projects that they had made application for, and all asked me to pass on their thanks to the county. My last thing, I just want to mention that the work on replacing the water line saddles, I guess they call them, on South Street appears to be progressing very well, and I'm sure that the residents there are looking forward to having their street repaved, once this work is completed. Thank you.
Thank you very much. District 8?
Thank you. I hope everyone's been making the most of our excellent summer weather and are enjoying of being outside. As I pass by in the neighborhoods, I'm happy to see many people gardening, having pop-up markets or yard sales, taking part in the Pride Parade or National Acadian Day festivities. It's just good to be out and see people again. Aside from these positive events, there are many people in Bear River whose water is stopped. I don't mean their well has gone dry, I mean they don't have a well and have to import water by truck to a storage container. And that supply has stopped. Apparently the guy who was doing it, his truck broke down. Now they're in the position of importing water from several counties away, amounting to exorbitant costs for life essentials and business, to do business. This is a reality for some people in District 8, and I just wanted to make everyone aware of that. Otherwise, I wanted to wish our students, teachers, and school workers a happy and safe transition back to school, and hope things go as well as they can. Thank you.
District 9?
Thank you. It's certainly great to be able to attend events in the community once again. On August the 11th, I attended a Soldiers Memorial Hospital Foundation meeting at the new primary health care clinic in Middleton. The foundation started a scholarship program this year, and a presentation of awards were handed out to 5 students studying the medical profession. 1 student from Kingston and 4 students that graduated from Middleton Regional High. And on August the 12th, I attended an excellent outdoor concert held at the Nicktoll Falls Community Park, featuring Janice Sheridan with over 100 people in attendance. I've been going to many outdoor farm markets in the county, buying local produce and products from vendors. It's beginning to feel normal again, and to be able to see and have conversations with the residents of Annapolis County is very much appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Redden?
Yeah, coming up this weekend is the Lawrencetown Fire Department's famous fish and chip takeout they do from the exhibition grounds. It's we're doing both lunch and supper again as other years, and on both Saturday and Sunday. That's the 21st and 22nd, and it is $12.50 a plate, and I don't think you have to pre-order, which is nice. And the Lawrencetown Education Center has begun construction on their sort of parking lot reclamation into basketball, multi-use courts, and skate parks, which is something the county has supported through our grants program. And that's that.
Thank you. Councillor LeBlanc?
Thank you. Well, I received several calls, or more than several, however, having to do with questions on the election that's happening today, where you have to go, etc. Also on the roads and some people who are having trouble when they're living on a dirt road, which causes grief sometimes, and also on signs that are missing or fallen over or misnamed or just happen to do. So just normal calls that are in the business. Secondly, I'd like to say to the students that are returning to school this year, have a great year. Hopefully it will be somewhat normal for teachers as well as students. The young ones starting, this will be, I have a couple of great kids, another one that's going in there, so he's quite excited too. The next thing is I also delivered our grant money to the Three Rivers Community Center. They are doing great work up there. They're doing all sorts of renovations. The last thing they've done is they've put stainless steel counters at what I call a normal height to be able to work on without bending over too much, and it looks lovely. Also, I delivered, with the help of Councillor Prout, a grant to the Albert Johnson, who is for the Rink Commission. So he was quite happy to receive the money, and as we're sitting in a rink, all money is needed to do all sorts of repairs, and it's great fun and activities for our young and older. I won't say the old. The Three Rivers Community Center had a turkey supper last month, and they did well. They had all the fixings. It was, as usual, call in, and it's a takeout, and they did a phenomenal job, and everybody appreciated it. And then on the last of them, I had a resident call me up who has sold their house, and they were looking for storage space and renting space until they move away, and they found that there was absolutely no storage places in Nova Scotia to store their stuff, and renting, they did find something, however, it was slim pickings, if I can use the term. There was basically not too much out there. So it is a cause of concern on the renting. This is just somebody that's renting for maybe a few months or maybe a year before they can move on. But somebody that lives around the area, it will cause obviously more grief. And I think that's all I have. Yes, that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, we're down to business arising from the minutes, of which there's none. And then new business. There's a report regarding the amendment of statutory and paid holidays.
Yes,
okay. Councillor Hudson?
Just one quick thing I'd like to bring up under business arising, and that has to do with the the elementary school redevelopment, and in that I was just wondering if we have received anything from either our real estate agent.
Councillor Hudson, business arising from the minutes should be on the agenda as it's circulated, and what I'm going to do is when we get to the report from the CAO, I think it would be appropriate that you ask him then during that period of time, rather than bringing something up under this heading, I think. So keep that with you, and when Mr. Dick is reporting on what he's going to report on, you can ask that question and any others at that point. Okay, we're into new business. The statutory and paid holidays policy. Who's going to speak to this? Ms. Campbell, are you speaking to that?
Are you going to do a motion first, Mr. Warren?
Well,
Put it on the floor.
all right. Well, let me just pull it up here.
There's 17.
You want the recommendation?
There's a recommendation that's before us, And so, Deputy Warden, do you want to read that?
Recommendation is to give 7-day notice to recommend that Municipal Council amend AM-2.1.3 statutory and paid holidays policy by replacing direct with non-union in Section 1 and adding National Day for Truth and Reconciliation to the list of paid holidays in subsection 4.1.
Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Hudson seconds. Okay.
Given the venue we're in, let me try and stick handle this. Are there any questions?
Perhaps for the benefit of those that are going to watch this, could you just give a short summary of what we're doing with this motion?
Of course. The first change of replacing direct with non-union is a result of the fact that we have a new QP collective agreement since the last time that this policy was amended. All of the provisions that are in this policy have now been included in the QP collective agreement, so it's appropriate to change it to non-union rather than direct. The second change is to offer this new holiday to all staff rather than just to union staff. Union staff, we are required legally to provide it in accordance with the terms of their collective agreement for any federally designated holidays. So the discretion for council here is whether you would like to also extend this new holiday to non-union employees.
Thank you. Questions or comments from council? Councillor Redden?
Yeah, I have a few comments. Where to start? I don't think, in general, there's any reason to have the entirety of Section 3 in this policy. It is just repeating the Labor Standards Act and
Sorry,
not doing a great job.
Section 3.
Yeah,
So, go ahead, I'm pulling it up while you're speaking.
yeah, Section 3.1 just lists the general holidays under the Labor Standards Code, which they're referred to in the code as general holidays and not statutory holidays. So maybe that should be looked at as well. 3.2 is just repetition of the act. 3.3 is a half a repetition of what gets stated in the act, and not a great job of it. Kind of vaguely conflicts. Section 3.4 conflicts in that we can't call an employee in and not pay them less than 3 hours. And then Section 3.5 just says, well, we're going to pay attention to the Labor Standards Code. So the entire thing is quite redundant and I think should be probably gone. Section 4 is, well, it's what we want to do for employees, so that's fine, with the exception of Section 4.6, which, similar to Section 3.4, is in conflict with the Labor Standards Code in that we have to pay 3 hours when we call an employee in. So my personal thought is that we should not accept this right now and send it back for staff. I would make it a motion, but I don't really feel comfortable amending these things as they are not subtle. And we should probably have our lawyer maybe kick at it. But I'm happy to leave that to the CAO. So
Tell me again what your issue is with 4.6.
It says, in addition, the employee shall be paid 1.5 times the regular rate of wages for the actual time worked on that day. Well, we have to pay a minimum of 3 hours if we call an employee to work.
We have to pay a minimum of 3 hours, and that comes from some other...
From the Labor Standard Code.
Yeah.
I see, okay.
So, that's also there's more in the Labor Standard Code about what you can have to pay employees, and I'm not going to go. I don't have the ability nor the expertise to go through and try and amend 4.6 to represent the Labor Standard Code and not be in conflict with it. Or whether we should even try and outline that versus just reference the Labor Standards Code. In general, I don't even know if we need this policy per se. Do we have to have a policy to extend these holidays to our non-union employees? I mean, council's only employee is the CAO, and I would think it's in your employment contract would cover all these sorts of things. But I don't know if that's a bit esoteric for here. Anyways. So yeah, that's what I have to say. I think we should vote it down and send it back to staff.
Well, you've raised a number of issues, good issues. They don't really address the motion on the floor, which is these two changes that are brought forward to us. And what I would suggest, since you've brought all these up, is that I know that Ms. Campbell has probably made a note of them, and if not, you can discuss with her further. But with respect to these two changes, rather than trying to deal with other changes to the whole policy while we're all sitting here today, I would suggest that we maybe bring that back if you can have a chat with Mr. Dick and perhaps Ms. Campbell with respect to these other issues that you've raised.
Well, I mean, we keep a record of our changes, and I thought it was here before us.
Pardon me?
We could kind of deal with it, and this doesn't have to be done, and it's not going to get approved anyways until council in September, which means there's lots of time for it to come back at committee of the whole in September and still get passed with our 7 days notice, rather than have it come back onto our agenda in the future or get lost in the turmoil. Not turmoil. That's not the right word. Get lost in the shuffle.
Any other comments? Councillor LeBlanc?
I tend to agree with Councillor Redden with what he's trying to see. However, I agree with the fact that we're not dealing with those sections at this time. We're dealing with two things because it was recently passed by the government for a National Day of Truth and Reconciliation to be September 30th. I guess what I would suggest is maybe after we deal with this first section that maybe Councillor Redden would like to make a motion to refer it to staff to look over the rest of the parts that he's looking at. That's my suggestion for today.
Deputy Warden, did you have your hand up?
Yes, please. My question would be, are we regulated to add this holiday? Did the government come out and say that you will add this holiday to your list of holidays?
Mr. Dick?
No. Okay. That answers that. Thank you.
Sorry, I was asking Mr. Dick to respond to your question.
So the answer is no, but the union collective agreement allows the union representatives to have that as a holiday, because the collective agreement wording is similar to what the federal statutory holidays would be. So really the request here is the union's going to get it regardless of whether council were to approve this or not. The request here is that the non-union members get this entitlement as well.
All right, that's where it all comes from. Thank you. So what will it cost them? Would be my next question.
In theory, it doesn't cost anything because people are paid on salary. I guess it's really more of a reference to people get paid to come to work or people getting paid a salary. So there's no actual dollar value for the non-union people. On the union side, as Councillor Redden has brought forward, there is some statutory requirements to pay time and a half, and there's a minimum number of hours. But for the non-union group of people, there's really no cost to this. I mean, I shouldn't say there's no cost. People are just getting paid for a day not coming into work.
Well, my comment would be that, I've worked in my whole life, and I've never had over 5 days off in the run of a year, having never worked for a government position or anything like that. So it was really shocking when I started at it. I said, well, we're up to 6 paid holidays a year, but as it turns out, now we're going to have 14 paid holidays a year. Thank you. That's all my point. Thank you.
Ms. Campbell, did you want to say something?
I would be prepared to respond to all of Councillor Redden's points today, or alternately prepare a report for next month at your discretion.
I don't think we'll deal with all those today. I think that you and Councillor Redden perhaps could have a chat, and Mr. Dick, and if there's a recommendation to deal with other sections of the policy, or maybe even to remove the policy, that can come back to us as a recommendation from staff at the appropriate time. Is that fair enough? Yeah. There's a motion on the floor to make these two changes to the current policy. Any other discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? One against, two against. Motion's carried. Thank you. Next is a recommendation regarding the Mount Hanley and District Schoolhouse Museum Society.
Mr. Warden, I'll excuse myself.
Okay. For the record, Councillor Connell is declaring a conflict, and he's going to leave the...
And the reason is...
I'm the chair of the...
Chair of the society.
Yes.
So the report is on page 22 of 27, and there's a recommendation from staff. Deputy Warden, would you like to read the recommendation?
The recommendation is that Municipal Council approve a grant in the amount of $500 from the 2021-22 Community Grants Program, Community Heritage Grants for Lighthouses and Museums, to the Mount Hanley and District Schoolhouse Museum Society to assist with the costs associated with painting and new steps for the building in accordance with AM-1.4.9 Community Grants Policy.
Is there a seconder for the motion? Councillor LeBlanc seconds. Discussion? Councillor Sheridan?
Yeah, I would like to make an amendment to the motion and bump that from 500 to 1,000. Their ask was 1,000. We do have additional money sitting in the account, and they haven't asked for a lot in the past, so I would like to amend the motion by adding to 1,000 instead of 500.
So the amendment proposed is to change the $500 to $1,000. Councillor Longmire, you're seconding that? Discussion on the amendment? The amendment is, the issue of $1,000 is referred to in the discussion in the report. Seeing no comments, I'll call for a vote on the amendment. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion's carried. So discussion on the motion as amended. Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion's carried. By the way, can everybody hear all right in this hockey rink here? Is everybody...
Certainly a good echo.
Yeah, there's a little bit of an echo, but...
It's not the best.
Oh, good, okay. Because these microphones still don't, amplify. They just record.
He's just going to go get Councillor Arnold to come back in.
Yeah. We're just waiting for Councillor Connell to come back in.
Just a curiosity, do we actually have to leave the room or just go to the public viewing area when we excuse ourselves?
It's a good question. I think the better practice is to actually leave.
Yeah.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is a recommendation report regarding the Longley Mountain Road renaming. There's a recommendation at page 24 of 27 of the package.
The recommendation to recommend that Municipal Council rename the Longley Mountain Road in Upper Granville, including both the I-class road and the K-class sections to Gesner Lane or Gesner Lane, sorry.
Is there a second for that? Councillor Bartow? Discussion? For the sake of those watching, I spoke to Councillor Connell this week on another matter, and he educated me about what an I-class road and a K-class road. Well, actually, he educated me about a J-class road and an I-class road. I had never heard of a K-class road, but I assume that's one that you might want to have a buggy to get by. I'm not sure. Any other comments with respect to the motion? Deputy Warden?
Thank you. Could I have an explanation of what an I-class road is? Because I know what a K-class road is, and I know what a J-class road, but I'd never heard of an I-class road.
Let's see if you pass the test.
Well, normally we would ask the CAO to respond to those types of questions. But unless, he may want to defer to Councillor Connell.
You didn't invite me to that meeting, so I don't know.
Oh, you're on your own.
Councillor Connell, would you like to educate us all?
I'll try to hit it. Don't take it to the bank and say that I was 100% correct. But the different levels of roads allows different levels of service, of course. And an I-class road is a road that the government will maintain passable. Now, what's passable in some people's minds may not be as good as what people would like to see. But an I-class road, for an example, may not get snow removal 100% of the time, but if there was, a lot of them are camp roads and roads that are off the beaten path. And so if someone put a request in to have that road plowed because they were going there for their camp or something, it will be plowed after all of the roads are done. It may get one grading a year versus the other ones may get, it definitely wouldn't get dust control. You know, very hard to get upgrades to an I-class road because of the non-maintenance side of it. They do cut some bushes and stuff on it, but it's just, it's a lower service road, but still maintainable for passable.
And a K-class road?
K-class road would I think you would find like some of the subdivision roads and all them are called K-class. I'm not 100% on what the K.
But apparently this road has both I and K-class sections to it.
Yes,
Yeah.
and probably the K is probably a more of a dirt section of road that's maintained. So that would get money spent on it for gravel and ditching if it's needed, that sort of thing on that section where the I's wouldn't get all that at the best of time. What's happening is that people own property on these I-class roads and K-class roads, and of course when you go beyond that K-class and you want to build a house back there, you really have an argument against giving them permission because that road's so lowly maintained. But the way that society grows is that sometime or another the government's going to have to step up to the plate and put some maintenance into these I-class roads because properties are selling. People are building off the beaten path. And,
Okay. Well, thank you for that. Councillor Bartow?
A couple things. Just continuing on that, the attached aerial photography on here does have little text boxes on it. It says, points to the section that goes up into the passable to Longley Mountain Road, Provincial, unmaintained roads on 1.28 K-class, not maintained, not passable by regular vehicles. And,
oh, so there's the opposite.
By the highway, it says I-class road maintained passable by regular vehicle. I guess with the map on there indicating that, I was just wondering, didn't see it in the typed description of background, it says this would be the road sections in Upper Granville as only one resident or land is on the road, as well as the impassable section for continuity with the Department of Transport. But it doesn't say it terminates where it kind of on the map looks like there's some kilometers added to it, and it shows it like stop at the Beaconsfield Road. Maybe we should request the terminology be updated so for clarity on the start and end points of the section of the Longley Mountain Road, which is going to be renamed as for that section for clarity on the 911 system.
So
to the Gesner.
The way I read the map is that all of the Longley Mountain Road in Upper Granville will be called Gesner Lane, whether it's I-class or K-class.
But the Longley Mountain Road goes right over to the base.
Well, but it's not in Upper Granville if it goes over the mountain.
Yeah, but at what point does it stop being Longley Mountain Road?
Well, when I looked at the map, it looked to me as though it doesn't continue past the Beaconsfield Road. I could be wrong.
Well, that's shown on this map, but it isn't in the description.
Yeah.
I just want clarity on that for future reference.
Councillor Connell?
So it's the opposite. The K classes is not maintained. But the problem is with 911 and following GPS is that this is where we've got ourselves in trouble, no matter who owns the roads, is that if a call comes in and the ambulance services, EHS gets a civic number and they look for the closest GPS route to get there, what happens is that, and travelers, local people know the difference, but nobody else knows the difference, that they can only go up that road so far and all of a sudden you run into the dog trail. And that's what's happening with the GPS and the central services, is that they're getting themselves in trouble by going up those roads. We've had seniors get stuck in my time working for transportation on these roads.
Yeah, I've had the same experience with people coming to visit me and trying to get up the Balcombe Road.
Yeah. The GPS system shows it's a road, so they take it.
Yeah. And then they get stuck.
To that point, and they think, well, geez, it can't be that much further. I might as well try to keep going, and they get themselves in trouble. So, I mean,
if I could come back to Councillor Barteau's point, who's speaking? Can someone help us out on exactly? I think what he's raising is the exact location of Gesner Lane, if the motion passes, how far it's going to go up from Granville Ferry. And the way I saw it, it's the two parts that are listed here in the map as the K-class road and the I-class road. Can someone confirm that?
Albert.
Around here? No?
Albert.
Albert?
That'd be my understanding. It goes as far as the Beaconsfield Road.
Does that answer your question, Councillor Barteau?
Yeah, I just had a concern because the Longley Mountain Road still goes from Highway 1 to the Bay Shore Road, and even though it's impassable, that's one thing, but with ground search and rescue, there could be somebody out there hunting or walking and get in trouble. We want it clear on the database so that if somebody says somebody is lost and they're on the Longley Mountain Road, but they could be on the valley side, or should this have gone to the top of the mountain or wherever? I'm not sure who determined that the extent of the Longley, the Gesner Road would stop at Beaconsfield. That's probably a good spot for it, but just so that for the 911 system and for clarity for response from search and rescue and other people, that we'd be very clear. We're trying to sort this out so that the 911 calls don't go to the wrong shore to get onto it. I think we need to continue that and do a full response so that a 911 call doesn't go to the wrong shore because we're stopping at the Beaconsfield Road and not going to the top of the mountains, per se. I think it's important. If we're going to clear it up for one reason, we got to clear it up.
Mr. Dunphy, can you
I
respond?
was just going to add to that, if you look on page 26 of 27, the next steps, this is part of our road naming, but afterwards it must go onwards to the provincial naming systems. All of those things will be identified and will be corrected at that point in time. So and that's why the package goes to the Department of Transportation and Infrastructure Renewal. So they have the final approval on it, but they've already been consulted as part of that, this original. So while we're agreeing to a change, the whole purpose of the change of the name is because Longley is up on one side, and then there will be no confusion because the bottom part will be renamed. It will also then go into every provincial database that there is.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Perhaps,
Councillor Hudson?
just maybe from my understanding that this situation in respect to this road is perhaps not unique. Up from the Longley Mountain Road, maybe a few miles towards Bridgetown, there's the Finney Mountain Road, which is very exactly the same as this Longley Mountain Road. It goes up a passable piece of road, then it goes into a non-passable piece of road that goes right up over the mountain to the shore. So the situation here is not unique. I think we have several similar roads in the county that perhaps we need to address others as well, I guess.
Fair comment. Mr. Dunphy?
I will mention a couple of things in relation to this. This is called a discontinuous road project. We've been renaming these roads for probably about 10 years now, and as soon as one's identified, a discontinuous road as opposed to the Finney Mountain Road, it lines up at the intersection. A discontinuous road does mean to come up here, but the next section may be way over here on an offset. Because it's an offset, because it's a different area, hence the reason why those ones are being identified as priorities to be renamed. Therefore, the safety is built into that NASCAP system and everything else.
Thank you.
But this is not the first one. This is probably the first one this council has dealt with, but we've dealt with a number of these situations over the last 10 years.
Councillor Connell?
Yeah, because at one time, Shore Road went from one end of our county right straight through to the other end of the county in different sections. So there was probably, I think, 4 or 5 sections of roads across the mountain that was called Shore Road. And so what was happening again is when essential services were being called, they were going to the wrong sections. They were hard to find where the people are. So like Albert said, over the years in last council, we dealt with that ordeal because some of the roads we went through the community and they chose one section was the Delusion Road, so we left it to Delusion Road. And now the Shore Road West, Shore Road East, so that we identified those sections for the purpose of 911.
Anything else? I think I'd like to call for a vote on the motion that's on the floor. Any further discussion? If not, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you. We have a public hearing at 11 o'clock, which is in 10 minutes. I think we'll keep moving, and if we have to interrupt the discussion on the next item, we will. This is the Annapolis Valley Intermunicipal Service Agreements that Mr. Dick will commence the discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. I've met with my fellow CAOs on at least 2 occasions. The warden and Don met with the CAOs and the other elected officials a couple of weeks ago. I guess it was the Monday that I was on my annual leave. What the IMSAs are attempting to do is to reorganize all the joint service agreements that we have. Particularly this one they're talking about is the Valley Waste agreement that we have and the King's Transit. So they've spent a great deal of time, the other CAOs and elected officials have spent a great deal of time in trying to come up with a model of how they want to move the agenda forward for both of those services. We hadn't been asked to the table up until maybe 3-4 weeks ago, and the first meeting that I had with them, I asked the pointed question, are we considering this because of what we may have done in the past? And they said yes, but that's not necessarily a negative thing, because the previous agreement with Valley Waste, there were some things in that agreement that probably nobody ever spent any mind thinking about. So they wanted to redevelop the whole process with Valley Waste. Certainly the discussions I've had, not having this discussion with council, certainly the warden and I have had discussions, certainly in terms of Valley Waste, is my gut is telling me the deal that we would like to do with Valley Waste is very similar to the deal that we had before we left. So what the IMSAs are trying to do, and particularly the CEOs have come up with this model of, they want to have a third layer of bureaucracy, and they want to have an executive director along with a CFO that has Valley Waste reporting to them and has King's Transit reporting to them. And as they're doing that, they want to look at some long-term strategic plans for Valley Waste and some significant work in terms of King's Transit, in terms of sizes of buses, where we're running our routes, and things of that nature. So they put a small budget together. They do have some funding from the province to assist with this for consulting work. So that's what I can tell you at this point, and it's because I haven't put my mind totally to whether this is something that we all agree to. And I guess the unfortunate thing is that they've been working on this for months now, and they really want to put the final stamp on this, and they'd like to do that sooner than later. And I don't think we're quite prepared to make that investment at this point. So I've asked certainly the CEOs of Kent County and Wolfville, who seem to be the prime movers in this, if I can spend some more time with them, because I'm not personally agreeing with that model. I think it's another level of bureaucracy, and certainly if I was an executive director of King's Transit and or Valley Waste, I'm not sure how I would like to report to another executive director who subsequently reports to elected officials. But because I haven't been involved in the discussion at length, I want to meet with them, and I'm hoping to do that. I've asked if I can meet with them for a couple hours tomorrow just to get a better sense of it. The money that they're asking for isn't significant because it's shared by all the 7 municipalities, and it's a 2-year pilot project. And as the warden and I have discussed a number of times, typically these pilot projects go on indefinitely. And I'm not 100% convinced personally, and I say that from naivety, I'm not 100% convinced that that's the direction that we want to take. Saying that, I certainly agree that we probably want to get back into Valley Waste and into the deal, sort of the way it was done before. And in terms of King's Transit, one of the commitments that Council's asked from us is to come back and talk about the transit system in Annapolis, particularly. And in my opinion, that's probably a process that's going to take staff and myself 3 or 4 months to do. So to try to get this done by the end of, I think it's August that they were looking for, I mean, it's virtually impossible for us to do it. So I'm asking for an extension when I meet with them, whether they'll grant that to us or not. I will also say that the 2 CAOs from Wolfville and Kent County have agreed that should council want, they'll come back and make a full presentation to you next week, I think. The 25th, I think, is what. So I haven't committed to that yet because certainly we haven't had that discussion. Certainly it's probably something that I would suggest that they would come down and make a PowerPoint presentation just to give you a better level of knowledge. My level of knowledge is probably, here as opposed to being up here. So I would probably suggest if council is willing, we'll schedule a meeting for sometime on the 25th. I'm not sure what the time frame is, Don. Do you have a sense of when they wanted to do this?
Yeah.
So I can coordinate that with them hopefully by the end of day if council is interested in doing it. All that being said...
David, I thought that the 25th I have in my schedule, that's for the elected officials, like the one we had before.
Did they not also send us an email that said they'd come and make a presentation to us on the 25th?
And they were pretty open about their availability for that. Yes.
So yeah, so there's I think ours is, I can't remember if that was the 25th or 26th, I can't recall, but so
25th,
they've been having continuing meetings, and the unfortunate thing is we're getting, Johnny come lately, we're really late to the game here. And certainly the warden and I have had many discussions about what our involvement would be without having that fulsome discussion with council. So before even getting that far, I want to have a better appreciation for what it is that they want, whether I have any comments about that, and then bring that back to you, because you'll be making the decision. That's not coming from staff, that's coming from council. Anything else that you wanted to add to that, Mr. Warden?
No, other than, as Mr. Dick indicated, I attended a meeting at the Kings County Council Chambers a couple of weeks ago with Ms. Campbell, because Mr. Dick was away. And I voiced at the time my concern about the extra level of bureaucracy that they're suggesting. The board of directors that they're proposing is all of the elected officials, sorry, the mayors and wardens. It would be the board of directors, of which there may be, what, 7? The way to have the larger municipal units have more of a say than the smaller ones, because you've got, for example, Kings County that has, I don't know, 40, 50,000 people, and the town of Annapolis Royal has 500, that there would be a special resolution required for certain motions that came before this body. So that, to me, is still being worked on. I voiced my personal view was that we would like to participate in these IMSAs. That was my personal view. I can't speak for council. I indicated that I was concerned about the extra layer of bureaucracy, and as Mr. Dick has said, I was concerned that a pilot project of 2 years tends to keep running past 2 years. So I've indicated those concerns in writing to the other mayors and wardens, and that's kind of where we are at the moment. They do hope to have this done by the end of August. I still haven't seen an actual draft, I don't think, of the actual agreement, so that would take some time to work out, and that's where we are. So I'll take, I think probably before we get into a discussion, I think I'll take a break now, and we'll do the public hearing. It's almost 11 o'clock, and then when we come back, I'll entertain questions about the IMSAs. So I need a motion to adjourn the council meeting. Deputy Warden moves, Councillor LeBlanc seconds. Any discussion on that? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you, everyone. We're now moving into a public hearing with respect to the application for deregistration of property in Granville Ferry. Council is to deal with this public hearing called via Section 16 of the Nova Scotia Heritage Property Act. At the end of the public hearing will be closed, and council will return to its regular session of council to consider the application. The purpose of the public hearing is to hear from the public with respect to the deregistration of PID 05108956 vacant lands included in the Annapolis County Heritage Property Registry since September 19, 1991, known as the Entertainment House in Granville Ferry, Annapolis County. For those of you that are watching this public hearing, there was a larger property that had a house on Granville Road. That property some time ago was subdivided such that there's a piece of land up on, I think it's North Street, that has no longer has, it doesn't have and never did have a dwelling on it, but it was included in the Heritage Property Registration many years ago, and the purpose of this application is simply to deregister the vacant land. the heritage registration would stay on the building for which it was originally intended. With respect to the procedure, all questions and comments throughout the public hearing are to be addressed to myself, the chair. I will afford an opportunity for public input and will ask that person speaking to identify themselves so that their comments may be recorded in the minutes of these proceedings, and that the person speaking identify if they are speaking in favor or against the application. The usual time allotted will be 5 minutes. Written presentations are acknowledged first, followed by public oral presentations. Questions and comments from council members are to be held until all public comment is heard. So, first, the presentation by the planner, application specifics, and the request. Mr. Dunphy, do you have anything to add other than what's in the document?
Thank you, Warden. They stole all my thunder. You've covered everything succinctly, exactly what I was going to say. What it is, deregistration, it is a portion of the property. The only point that I would add to it would be is that when we celebrate a property, we celebrate a structure and such like that, the visual clues of it. However, in the registry, we include the deed description, and as the warden pointed out, we registered the property in 1991, and in 1994, that piece was subdivided off, that piece being a vacant piece of approximately, I think it was 3.26 acres originally. It does retain no historic value as a vacant lot up on North Street, and that's essentially what Section 16 talked about. Is that as per Section 16 of the Heritage Property Act, upon application of a property owner, council may deregister a municipal heritage property where B, the continued registration of property appears to be council to be inappropriate after holding a public hearing to consider the proposed deregistration. The only thing that I would add to it is that after the public hearing, you have the applicant here to speak. And after the public hearing, there should be a motion that goes on the council agenda. And the motion can be as very simple as, if you agree, it would be to deregister that portion. Thank you, Ward.
Thank you. Next, the property owner, Mr. John Britton, is here, sitting in the council chambers today. Next, written submissions. Are there any written submissions, Madam Clerk?
No submissions were received, no.
No written submissions. I will now call for oral presentations from a member of the public who may have attended, of which Mr. Clayton's the only one I see here, and he's here for another reason. So my first call for comments against the application, a second call for comments against the application, and a third call for comments against the application. Hearing none, I'll call for comments in support of the application. I'll make a second call for comments in support of the application, and a third call for comments in support of the application. Hearing no comments either for or against, I'll call for questions or comments from council members. Seeing none, I will ask that the public hearing, there be a motion to adjourn the public hearing. Moved by the Deputy Warden, seconded by Councillor Connell. Any further discussion on the motion to adjourn? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. 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 Opposed? Motion's carried. So we're now going to return to the regular session of council, and we'll deal with this matter first on the agenda. And the clerk has told me she has a motion prepared.
I just have to flip documents. So if you wish to add something, there should be a motion to amend the order of the day to add Entertainment House Heritage Property request to deregister vacant lot.
So moved.
Moved by the Deputy Warden, seconded by Councillor Barteau. All those in favor to amend the order of the agenda say aye. 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 Opposed? Motion's carried.
Thank you. A suggested motion before council to make might be that municipal council, after conducting a public hearing, approve the request of the property owner to deregister PID 05108956, a vacant lot which has been subdivided from the municipally registered heritage property known as the Entertainment House and located on North Street in Granville Ferry.
Is there someone make that motion? The Deputy Warden moves, seconded by Councillor Barteau. Any discussion on the motion before council? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Britton.
Thank you very much for your handling of this. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
So we left off, we're back in the council meeting, as I said, and we were discussing the report from Mr. Dick regarding the suggestions from the other municipal units in the Annapolis Valley regarding the IMSAs, the intermunicipal service agreements. Questions and comments? Councillor Connell?
I've read some of the information that our CAO sent along and yourself about the meetings, and my concern is that, in my view, King's Transit and Valley Waste are two different issues. Even before we were a partner in Valley Waste, we really haven't been a partner in King's Transit. We buy our own buses. We decide where our buses are going to go with our citizens' request, and then we put the request through to them. At the time King's Transit grew, they bought the old Chev dealership in New Minas for a building to have so they could service their buses. At that time, council didn't feel appropriate to be a part of that because we didn't want to have to pay for a garage, our portion. We didn't want to have to pay for the electricity, our portion. All the things with coming to own a facility. We felt that it was easier for us to buy newer buses, less maintenance, deal with our own buses and our own schedules and our own where we traveled them in our county, was more for us to make up our minds. When you become a partner, you lose some of that ability. And I'm not sure I would vote to go that direction with King's Transit. I think that some of the problem with Valley Waste, I've said it many times previous years, is that these identities sometimes become castle builders. And that's what I found with Valley Waste. Valley Waste was always promoting buying more, get bigger, do this, and they were castle builders in their own regime. I don't want to get in that situation with King's Transit. I think personally the taxpayers are better off to have newer buses. We should be able to make up our mind when the bus should be replaced. So I think there's two issues there, and putting them together I think is going to muddy the water, personally.
Thank you. I will say that the purpose of this discussion is really to inform Mr. Dick when he continues dealing with the other CAOs. There isn't really a decision to be made at this point because there's nothing to decide at this point. We need more information, and as Mr. Dick said, he's meeting perhaps even tomorrow with them. But the purpose of today is to get some feeling from council as to how we feel about all this. Councillor Prout?
Thank you. as Councillor Connell said, I went through the information that was sent to us. Along with this whole idea of an extra layer of bureaucracy that was brought up, one of my concerns is not only are we late to the party, but we're looking at maybe I'm mixing metaphors, a shotgun wedding. Like if we're going to, they want to agree, by the end of August, and I don't think that gives us time to.
I think that's a given, Councillor Prout. There's no way we're going to be doing anything by the end of August. And if they're restricted to that deadline, then we're not going to be in. And
I think we should look at it, explore it, but we need more time. I mean, they've been meeting. It sounds like for quite a length of time, and I won't say we're an afterthought, but I mean, we've been invited in that. It's always nice to be included, but I think there's a lot more information, as has been said before, that we need to look at before we can contemplate coming in on something.
I will say my assessment is there is a desire from the other municipal units to have us in. That's their desire. So anyway, I just thought I'd make that comment. Councillor Barteau.
Yeah, it all seems to be moving pretty fast, and a lot has been done without us. And that's for one reason or another. I think in our eagerness to mend fences that we don't want to fall into a trap as well. I don't see anything yet explaining to me why another level of bureaucracy is going to solve anything. You lose a lot of money on those upper management positions, like anything that I've experienced with. And to say, even if we did say that it was a positive thing, we go along with whatever, and if we said no, we don't want to go along with it, the financing and the agreements that would be made, somebody's going to build those costs back into our relationship with them anyway. So we've got to be careful as to, like, what's this call going to cost us? Does it matter whether we're part of the municipal agreement or just a user of the resources? I'm not comfortable where we're sitting on this, and I don't have enough information to even consider a decision at this time. I don't think, I'm just not comfortable with the timing on it and the lack of information. They're hoping that we're going to jump into it, assuming that they've done all their homework, but we haven't been a part of it. We don't know what they've done. We don't know any of the information. So I think we have to be very cautious moving forward. We don't want to get back into situations that the previous council got us out of and created. Like we need to sit down and have a lot of discussions. We have to have a lot more information. And the decision's not going to be easy, no matter what we jump. But I just wanted to voice my opinion that no, that we can't make any decisions at this point, not from my opinion.
No, we're not making any decisions today, and I will say there's really at least two elements to this. One is governance and the other is financial, and the bigger one is financial. And so this council certainly can't make any decision without a detailed report from our staff as to the pluses and minuses financially about joining these IMSAs or not. That's, to be honest with you, that's going to be the key piece of information. And as Mr. Dick has said, we don't have that information yet. So we can't make a decision until clearly knowing if we're going to be better off financially joining or not joining as a big part of the decision. Deputy Warden?
Thank you. I'm all for IMAs, as long as they're equitable for all municipalities. The last thing I don't want Annapolis County to is have to subsidize other municipalities. My concern is, even if we enter into a pilot project with these other municipalities, we won't be able to get out of the agreement without it leading to some sort of litigation. That turns out seems to be what happens when we get into agreements with other groups of people. When we were in Valley Waste, even though Annapolis County had the power of veto, in the end, it wasn't recognized because, of course, Kings County was a bigger shareholder. But the Kings and Annapolis had the power of veto. It wasn't recognized for Annapolis County. So any agreement that we make between the municipalities will have to be a finely crafted document, well worded, to protect Annapolis County's interest. And that's my concern, is that it will be. We've ran into so many agreements here the last few years, my God, with, everything from mainland to the termination for convenience to the YMCA we've ran into trouble when we get into these agreements. So not saying they can't be done. I know they can. They're very successful in a lot of parts of the country and in the province as well. But we want to make sure that our interests are covered. That's all.
So, as I said, we're not making any decision today. Wanted to make this issue public. Wanted to have everybody's sense, if they could. And we're going to leave it to Mr. Dick to continue meeting and discussing, and if it's appropriate to bring presentation, as he mentioned, from some of the CAOs down the line to come and speak to us, we'll have to set up a special time for that. So unless there's something else, we'll move along. The next item on the agenda is my report, the Warden's report. I'm going to start off with a meeting that Mr. Dick and myself, and I believe Janice Young was at that meeting with Eagle. Is that right? Was she there? It was about 2 weeks ago, maybe 3. We wanted an update on where we are on the internet program, and Mr. Grant Crowson and Mr. Dan McCarthy from Eagle attended at the meeting. And suffice to say, we had concerns about the speed in which the internet program was being rolled out. And the 2 gentlemen from Eagle responded that yes, they were behind what they had hoped to be. The reasons were that there was a number of water crossings and highway crossings that needed permits from Nova Scotia Power that they hadn't been able to obtain. And secondly, because of the COVID restrictions, it was difficult to find workers to do what had to be done. And thirdly, that other municipalities and other areas of the province were having similar work done. So again, it was difficult to find skilled people to do the work that had to be done. With respect to the water crossings and highway crossings, I took the bull by the horns and I contacted Nova Scotia Power that afternoon, and by the end of the next day we had some movement on that, and in a telephone conference I had with Mr. Crowson the following Wednesday, he said that logjam had been to a great deal worked out. So I was pleased to hear that. However, they're still behind schedule. Now, originally, we were all under the impression that by the end of this calendar year, everybody that wanted internet in those areas to be serviced in the county would be able to sign up. We learned shortly after our meeting, because we asked for an update, that some areas won't be getting that availability until the middle of 2022. So I asked for a detailed schedule setting out exactly not just the season, which is what they'd been telling us in the past, but the month in which the different areas of the county would be able to be hooked up. That was provided to us, and I checked this morning, and that information, that more current information, is now on our website. Again, you have to navigate the Seaside internet information, which I like to say, if I could do it, most people could do it, because I'm not very good at that kind of stuff. But if anybody has any difficulty, any resident has any difficulty in navigating the seaside information, they should contact somebody at the county to help them out. So that information is all there, and if you go into the different areas of the county, you can see the time that your area is expected now to be hooked up. So I was going to read out the schedule today, but I checked this morning. It all is on the website, and it seems to be up to date, so I'm not going to do that. Second thing is I've already reported on the IMSA meeting that I attended with Ms. Campbell a couple of weeks ago at Kings County. Yesterday I was at the Annapolis Royal Historic Gardens to welcome Arthur LeBlanc, the Lieutenant Governor, who attended at the Gardens, and after that was over, I walked down to the Acadian flag raising. I missed most of the party, but it was a nice day, and I did have a chance to talk to Robert Surrett on that occasion. There were some different things are going on at the Sports Hub with respect to a storage and other things, and so I responded to a call from Steve Raftery. Excuse me, in Bridgetown had a tour of the Sports Hub on a rainy day a couple of days ago. So that's the essentials of my warden's report for the month of August.
Move to receive.
Motion to receive by the Deputy Warden. Second. Councillor Longmire seconds. Any questions or further discussion on anything I've brought up? If not, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. There's no correspondence this month, so I will entertain a motion to go in camera with respect to contract negotiations and litigation or potential litigation.
So moved.
Moved by the Deputy Warden, seconded by Councillor Hudson. Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you. Thank you very much. We've finished the in-camera portion of today's meeting. There's nothing else on the agenda unless somebody has something they want to raise at the last minute. Failing that, I'll call for a motion to adjourn. Moved by the Deputy Warden, seconded by Councillor Sheridan. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you very much.